buckle up. It's time to take the trip, buckle up.
You're listening to the Take the Trip podcast, where you'll find real talk and zero filter. I'm your host, Kendra Fogarty, and today I'm here with Anna from Wanderlust.Haaks. Anna, thank you so much for being here. Honestly, your feed always has me laughing and feeling inspired and so less alone in this apparent jungle out here. So I do have a very favorite reel that I saw of yours recently, and it was just so good. It was like one of those things you cannot even make up. And I want to give you a hint in case you want to talk about it. It had to do with your husband's to-do list and an egg.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. You couldn't even make this up. We were taking a bus when we were in Mexico and we were like, all right, we have to bring snacks for little kids, right? You cannot go without snacks for these guys. So we get on the bus and we're going on the road for a few hours. And my husband's like, all right, time to crack open the eggs for the kids. He thought he hard boiled them. And then he goes and like knuckles the egg and it went everywhere. I mean, some people might be like, why are you making eggs? I'm just like, you know what? You have to feed kids sometimes, but they were raw. They got in his teeth. They got in his lap. And I'm just like, just crying, laughing so hard. I was like, what did you do? He's like, I thought they were hard boiled.
Oh my gosh, it cracked me up. I sent it to my husband right away, and I was just like, oh, you have to see this. It's just hilarious. And it's just so relatable. Like the to-do list fails, and that one is just, I'm sure, unforgettable. So it was just one egg that you cracked, right? So did the others, like, did you carry them around or did you throw them away? Or like, what did you do with the rest of the eggs?
He just like put the lid back on, stuck it back in the bag like it didn't happen. And then we just got rid of them after that. So we're like, well, you know, not keeping these anymore. We're letting these go. But leave it to my husband to just kind of like make that mistake and just be like, this is cool. No problem.
Yeah, it's hysterical. I wonder too if anyone else saw it. Like, I would love to just be the stranger in like the row over that just sees a guy like crack a raw egg all over himself. Like, that would just be a great thing to observe. Oh.
All in there. There's like a person sitting catty corners to me, diagonal, and she didn't even turn around and look. I think everybody on the bus is just like not paying attention. Anyone else minding my own business. I don't know if it's just like a Mexico thing where they're like, I'm not going to look at anybody. You're good. Or if nobody even noticed.
Well, they missed out. I would have been all up in that. I'd be recording it for sure. I'd get your permission, but that's just too funny. So I know you have a whole host of hilarious travel stories. Can you tell us what happened with the food going through customs?
Yeah. When we came back into the US, because we just went away for like 3 months when we started out our travels just to give it a try. And we always pack snacks again for the kids. Leave it to my husband, packing snacks for the kids, right? This is like an ongoing theme now. And he puts some oranges in the backpacks just so they have that. And we get into the US and I was like, leave it on the plane since the kids didn't eat it. And he's like, no, I'll just take it and I'll hand it to the customs officers. That did not go well. He hands it to them and they're like, sir, did you know that you're not supposed to bring food? Well, yes, that's why I'm handing it to you. Well, now I need your passport. And they take it and they record it in this little book. The lady walks away with it and comes back and like gives him a warning and says, don't do it again. And next time it could be like this big fine of $1,000.
Oh, that's serious. Oh my gosh. So my husband actually, he forgot about a banana that he had in his bag when we were going to Mexico, and like something kind of similar happened. Like they freaked out as if we were like, actually smuggling like drugs in or something. Like they were so mad at us, and he just like forgot that the banana happened to be in there. Just like one banana. So yeah, they're not joking around about the food. I am curious, why is it such a big deal? Like,
It's
do
like
we
an
know?
agricultural thing of bringing like possible bugs in with this fruit and vegetables that they wanted to just stay out. But
That's
he's
bizarre.
looking in, give him just the benefit of the doubt that he wants to give it to you.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I also heard we're in California right now, and someone said that there's actually some state border checks about produce coming into the state if you're coming from Arizona. And we kind of went a different way than I think other people did, so we didn't run into it. But when we got here, some friends were like, oh, did you get your groceries checked or something? Because you're not allowed to bring fruit in. And this was news to me. I did not know that there were certain fruits that could not just cross state lines. So I don't know, kind of interesting. I don't know what's going on with the produce, but I also feel like, isn't it shipped all over the country and imported
I know.
anyways? Okay, and then we have to hear about the electric toothbrush too.
Well, this is lovely. So if you ever travel through India, they are super strict on electronics. And we didn't realize that. We are always used to the whole, the fluid is and the liquids are like a really big deal in the US. And most places that we go, they're like, pull your liquids out, stay in this bag, that big deal.
Mhm.
India was completely opposite. They wanted all your electronics checked out. They want to know about them. They want to know if they're in a checked luggage or under the airplane luggage. And so we get up to the gate just to check our bag, and they're like, "Do you have electronic?" And we go, "Yeah, like this. Here you go. What is this?" "Well, we share it." And I didn't even realize it when I said it. I don't remember the exact thing that I said, but I was just so nonchalant about the fact that I'm like thinking it's a toothbrush. I figured they would realize it's a toothbrush. And instead, I'm just saying, like, "Oh, it's electronic that we share." And they're just like, "Put it back in the bag here." I'm like, "Oh my goodness, it's not what you think. It's a toothbrush." I didn't have the head of the toothbrush on it. And we just switch out the toothbrush heads. They just had a big field day about it because it was an electronic that they couldn't
Oh my
identify.
gosh. That is so funny. And what just a hilarious response for them to be like, tell us what this is. And just like, we share it. Like, that's so epic. I love it.
Put like a sticker on it, like identifying what it is, because they are so very specific about electronics and wires and everything.
That's interesting. Okay. That's really good to know. So maybe put the toothpaste like in a bag with it or something. So those are some great stories. Thank you for sharing. We definitely want to learn more about your life though. So interesting. First, I just want to talk about the transition to your travel life. You had a post that was just so relatable. You wrote that after going through IVF and then finally having your beautiful children, and then you were back at work, and then you were realizing you were struggling to balance all of that with your career, right? And then you
Yeah.
said that you went on a trip to South Africa and you said that you felt alive again. And that is it 100%. Like that is just, I feel that in my soul. Like the way you just feel alive again when you're traveling. And that is like similar to what I happened doing the mom life, the career life, balancing it all, and just feeling so drained of just everything. And it was like you felt so torn because it was like, here's what I have to be doing. I have to be at my job or whatever. And it's like, here's what I want to be doing. It's so, so hard, but that was just so relatable. So take us back to those moments. How were you feeling and how did you start planning this transition into your travel lifestyle?
So we got married in 2017, and I immediately wanted kids. My husband did not. But then we started trying, and we are like, "Oh, this is so hard," and had to go through IVF, which just took us down this whole other rabbit hole that I never expected we'd have to go on to have kids. So fast forward, we had IVF successfully in like 2019 and 2022. And then just going to work, I worked in medicine. We worked through COVID, and it was just a lot being gone and working 10 or 12-hour days and just seeing sick people, dedicating so much time and effort to people in medicine here in the United States and just how the healthcare system is set up.
Hmm.
And just going home and feeling like there was nothing left to pour into my own cup or my family's cup at that point. It was all being poured into work.
Hmm.
And then we just took a trip to South Africa. We planned out pretty well where we did the garden route from Cape Town all the way across. And then we got down there and I was like, this feels amazing. We had so much free time just driving around, so much focus on each other where there was nothing like filtering through that I had to worry about. And I was like, I want to do more of this, especially when we ran into people that lived in Cape Town. They're like, you should go here and you should go here. And it's like I had built out this itinerary where we were gonna go and just realized there was no extra time, but there could be more time. We could stay longer, we could travel longer. The communities are so amazing that we've met, and it's like I wanted to do and explore more of that away from what I was filling with work and just focus more on me and my family.
That's amazing. And it's just so relatable. I always said that I felt like my kids just got what was left of me after I gave it all at work. And then they just got like that little bit left that was definitely, yeah, not enough. Winter makes everyday things harder. Dead batteries, snowed in driveways, messy cars, and getting stuck when you least expect it. If you're anything like me, it's also always when you're already running late. That's why this episode is brought to you in part by eTrailer, because winter has a way of keeping us on our toes. Even when we try to snowbird, it always seems to find us somewhere, at least for a few days. So whether you're gearing up for winter or you're dealing with it as it comes, eTrailer helps keep you on the road with gear like tire chains, battery chargers, floor mats, and recovery equipment you can trust. You know, the kind of gear you're glad you planned for when conditions change fast. Head over to eTrailer.com or click the link in the notes to find winter gear that fits your vehicle and handles whatever the season throws at you, so you can spend less time stressing about freezing and more time drinking hot toddies or skiing or whatever it is that brings you joy when that snow is falling. So logistically, what does life look like for you all? On that first trip, how long was that you were in South Africa?
So we did that trip for about 3 weeks. And that's when we kind of were like, okay, we want to do this. We did another trip to Portugal and Austria for about the same amount of time and realized, okay, we can do this. And that's when we planned out from Mexico and Guatemala for 3 months and just thought we'll stay close to home in case this doesn't go well. So we had financially set ourselves up to have money put away to travel. And we knew outside the United States, it would cost less as a whole. So we didn't have to worry about making money if we weren't able to at the time and just go do our own trip. And then we realized this was great. South America was going to be more expensive. So we went over to Southeast Asia and India and just everything just blew wide open of how much we were able to do and how much we enjoyed it.
So India was super enjoyable. Out of all the locations you went, that's like a favorite, would you say?
Yeah, it was definitely a favorite of mine. It's such a different culture. It's so many like just amazing, like beautiful people that are just are very open and community oriented and spiritual oriented that was just fun and interesting to see. Like it's
Yeah.
different from what you see online. A lot of things that you see online on social media are always like, oh my gosh, in your face. And it's just when you look at the mundane, it's still interesting and it's still really cool.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. I have so many questions. I don't even know where to start. So, first, when you were doing these travels, was anyone working remotely or had you just saved up to take these trips?
We just saved up to take the trips. My husband got hard into financials when COVID hit and reallocated all of our funds and made us like coast fire so that way our retirement funds are set. It was just then putting into a bucket for travel or people
Okay.
like yes money or luxury money, whatever extra bucket you want to call that.
Okay, cool. So, did you retire from your jobs? Did you take personal leaves? Were you in between jobs or how did that work? Or do you just work for yourselves now or are you still like employed?
We quit our jobs and right now we're just working on being self-employed and being entrepreneurs and helping other families discover that
Yeah.
this is possible and what it looks like when you stay outside of all inclusives or resorts and how to do it without burning out or feeling like you have to spend like $10,000 on one trip.
Yeah, okay, that's great. I did look at some of your guides. They looked so helpful for sure. And it's so overwhelming. So I'm sure that just takes so much of the guesswork and the planning and the research out and just the confusion. So that's incredible that you're creating these to help other families who have a similar goal and just amazing that you're able to make this lifestyle work for you guys. That's so exciting. I am curious. So if you had to make a suggestion, and this is real talk. I know it's like taboo a little bit to talk about the money, but if you were talking to a family and you're coaching them and they were wanting to kind of similarly replicate traveling to some different countries and trying to live more like a local, doing month stays, that kind of thing, as affordably as they can. But how much money would you recommend to someone? Let's say they did still have money incoming, but how much would you say that they should budget for like a year in a similar lifestyle?
I would say if somebody could get over to Asia, Southeast Asia specifically,
Hmm.
we as a family of four were able to live on about $3,000 a month without any income coming in. And that's with like longer stays, not renting a car, just doing public transit. And whether you eat out or make your own food, there was so much fresh food, produce, groceries, but sticking to like one specific area so you're not jumping to all these different countries because flights and transport really seem to be the thing that add up the most if you were going to do that. And that really pushed our budget when we were flying further.
That is definitely more affordable than I would have expected. So that's incredible. So do you still have a home base now though while you are doing these adventures? Is that correct? You still have your home?
We sold our home. We sold it April of this year. We had a pretty large house. It required a lot of upkeep, and we just decided that that was just becoming a little difficult. So we still have like a home base of the city where we come home to where families at, and we just do a midterm rental when we're here. But the actual home is not ours anymore.
Okay, all right. And then how often are you traveling or what are you planning for 2026? Do you know yet?
We are going to travel again come January. We were initially looking at Colombia, and then I think we're going to go to Ecuador. Ecuador, get some Spanish and go between the Andes Mountains out to the coast, goes through the equator, just things like that. And then I'm hoping to go back over to Asia again. It really just kind of like called to me when we were over there, and I loved it. So I want to go back over there again next year.
That's really cool. Okay, I love that. I was trying to research some. We're trying to see if we can make it work to spend a month or so in a different country. But then I was thinking South America because I would still work for part of the trip at least, and then I would still be in the same time zone, right? So I was trying, Ecuador had come up as an option. Colombia, can't wait to follow along on those adventures for that and to hear how it goes. Okay. So you've traveled all over. Were there any moments where you were like, yep, this is really never going to go in the highlight reel, whether it's like a fail or something you thought other families could learn from or something that was just an absolute disaster? Like, have you had any of those moments?
I feel like we've been Gosh, I feel like we've been pretty open with everything that we've put out there. One of the things that kind of felt like I've put out there, but I haven't been like direct about is when we went to Laos and we rented a motorbike there and got our children on it. I put our 3-year-old in our child carrier because we didn't know how she would fit on the motorbike. And I know people in the United States have this thing about like public transit and the car seats. And it was just one of those things like, how much do you show everyone in the United States what public transit can look like to other people and are they comfortable with it? Because there's a lot of backlash for that sometimes of what you do with your kids and what people think it should look like. And I get it, but
Yeah, that makes so much sense. So you did post something about it or you
I
didn't?
I have her up, but I haven't directly been like, she did this or
Yeah.
we did this, or what this looked like. It's just like a visual of someone can interpret that's what happened.
Okay. So no one called it out and the trolls didn't come after you
They
yet.
haven't yet. No, not yet. I got some trolls for taking my child to the emergency room when she hurt her ankle. They said it wasn't necessary. And I was like, this is an interesting way for this to go. But,
Never know how people are going to interpret things. It is mind blowing. Where I'm just like, I didn't think we were going to take it here, but okay, here we are. Just never know. That did make me think of we rented the scooters, such a smaller scale. It's not the same as, a motorbike, but we rented the scooters that are in a lot of cities. We were actually in Washington, D.C. And, that's a lot of walking. Like my kids were like, we are done with this. We do not know who any of these old men are. We don't understand the point of these statues. They're little. They were just like, can we be done with this? So we hopped on one of the scooters that you just pick up and ride somewhere else, but they're supposed to be one person, like you're not supposed to have a kid on them, whatever. And I had that same struggle when I was posting about it, where I was like, I don't know. I don't know if people are going to come at me real hard for this, but like, we're holding on to them. It was like kind of a judgment call. I know not every parent would choose to, but we felt comfortable and in control of it enough that we were like, I think this is all right. And no one said anything, so that was a relief. All right, so let's play a little game called Live, Visit, Exile. So you're going to pick one of the locations that you're going to have to live in. The other one you can visit, but the final one you need to exile and you can never go there again. The first one, Vietnam, India, or South Africa. So which one would you choose to live? Where would you visit? And which one would you exile, never to be able to return again?
Okay, I think between those three, I would say live in South Africa, visit Vietnam, and then exile India. Not for anything against those, but just like between those three, that's the order I would probably go in.
Okay, that's really good to know.
Yeah.
And that's interesting because, you had said that you had a great experience in India. So that must mean that Vietnam and South Africa were just like that much more, well, spectacular. And I know because you liked India. So the other ones just must have been really wonderful, right?
Yeah.
Good. Good to know. It's always so interesting. I haven't gone to like any other countries, so I love hearing about what else is out there. So the next one, a little different, because I know you're deep in the parenting jungle, toddler life, right? So we have a zoo, a children's museum, and a playground. So there's one that you're gonna live at, whatever that means for this. One you can visit, but the other one you can just never go to again. So when it comes to like maintaining your sanity, because these are basically like our three popular go-tos, right? Obviously playground just any day, but we go to a lot of children's museums or a lot of zoos.
I'd say that we would probably live at a playground.
Mm-hmm.
Visit a zoo. My kids love zoos, even though some are kind of like, iffy. And then probably exile the museum.
Okay, that's what I would have chosen as well. Definitely. I love the children's museums. They're not all created equal. Sometimes we get to one and I'm like, what is happening here? And I'm a germaphobe, I'm not gonna lie. So sometimes I struggle a little bit in a children's museum, but it's fine. I think, yeah, living at a playground would actually be great though. My kids are like kind of feral. So if they just lived in treehouse thing in a playground. I think they'd really vibe with that. But yeah, the zoo thing. Have you been to zoos internationally? Like, how does that look? Is it as common? Are there differences?
There were some differences. I'd say that we went to the zoo in Vietnam and had a little bit difficulty with that one of the setup and everything. Just the things that we notice as adults that the kids don't notice. The zoo in Indonesia when we were in Yogyakarta on Java, that was a lovely zoo. Our kids love visiting them. So we try to make the effort in like our longer stays. But yeah, they're definitely not all created equal. And it's just a matter of how you want to interpret that when you go.
Yeah, for sure. We were at, oh God, I don't even remember what state we were at. And there was like a rescue zoo. It was just for big cats. And there's like, a tiger and they've got like these little, like a little fence, like one little, like a playground fence, the chain link where I'm just like, I feel like there should be more here. And I remember like we're walking around with our kids and my husband literally like asked the owner, there's like one guy working there and he's like, is this legit? Like, are we even safe here? We were totally like, is this real? Does anyone check on this? Because this doesn't seem like it's up to whatever code that should be monitoring it. And then this was also before Tiger King. So then after we saw Tiger King, I was like, oh my God, now I like can't believe we were there because really something bizarre could have occurred. All right. So one thing I wanted to ask you about were your observations about children in other countries as compared to American kids, because I know you've shared some really interesting things about what you've noticed about what kids kind of can handle or what their responsibilities look like. Like you had a reel about a child driving a tuk-tuk. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then how they do grocery shopping or they just run errands alone. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about what you've seen and what your thoughts are. And also if you've taken any of that and adjusted your own parenting style.
So definitely being in some of the other countries, you just notice that a lot of the countries and cities are built around this community. And maybe this is just my interpretation, right? But they just seem to take care of the kids when they're out. They understand their child. Maybe they visit this place frequently and go and get groceries there. So they show up and they get groceries and they walk home. And that just, whether it's their duty or they enjoy doing it, their community understands that that's what they do. They are just showing up and doing that and like driving a tuk tuk as like a young child who's maybe 10 years old. Another one was backing up this large ATV thing. And they just do that with the community and family that they're in, that's what they're used to. So we've implemented allowing the kids to do more, but I definitely noticed that it's harder in the US to just send my kids outside and say, go do this big task when a grocery store is so much farther away that that's not even possible where I'm living. So it's different, but it's very cool to see how the communities around the world are and how they're built.
Yeah, for real. Like that's so amazing. And it kind of made me want to like cry because it's that like, village mentality when everyone's like, it takes a village to raise a child. And I know after I had kids, I was always kind of like, where's that village? Like, tell me more about that. So it sounds like it's just maybe in other countries more so. I don't know. I'm sure some places in America are different. I just didn't really have that vibe, I guess. That's so interesting. After I saw that, it made me kind of think, because like I was like, that's so true. Like, kind of babying my kids in a lot of way, honestly. And I would love to encourage their independence and all of those really, really important life skills, especially as we're homeschooling. So we have a different kind of mindset, right, than if they were in public school. Then I was like, I don't know exactly how to get there, just because even here we're walkable to a store, but I wouldn't feel comfortable having them do anything like that. I won't even let them out of my view at our site. So kind of tricky. So tell me the truth though. When the kid was driving the tuk-tuk, were you scared for your life?
He was really good. I mean, he was on this like narrow pathway, but he was good. I was like, all right, he's got this. We'll just jump out if anything bad happens.
Oh my God. You're like extra tip for you, kid. When I first started learning about RV power systems for boondocking, I'll be honest, it felt overwhelming. Amps, inverters, solar, suddenly I felt like I needed an engineering degree just to turn a light on. That's why I really appreciate Battle-Born batteries. They're a trusted name in RV lithium power with American-assembled batteries proven in real RV and off-grid use. They're ideal for RVers who boondock or just want reliable power on the road, so you can spend less time troubleshooting and more time exploring. Battle-Born now also offers inverters, solar panels, and complete power system setups, which makes upgrading way simpler. So, were there any other places that you maybe experienced a type of culture shock or anything else that really surprised you?
I think the biggest culture shock for me was when we went to Indonesia and Malaysia. They have a large Muslim community, and we tried very hard to respect that in the way of dressing and just like wearing pants or covering the shoulders, especially in the heat. And being like an American where we have the heat, we're in shorts and t-shirts or getting in the water. And it's just like I'm trying to respect the culture there and dress differently. It was just a culture shock to adapt that for their
Yeah.
respect and just feeling like it was just different, but very
Oh my
lovely.
gosh. Yeah, that's so interesting, and that's just so considerate that you were willing to, adjust and sweat it out in long pants and shirts. How many other tourists did you see? Were all the tourists kind of doing that, or were there some people that were? I'm just kind of curious, like how common is it? If they had seen you and you were wearing a tank top and shorts or whatever, would people be like, "Whoa," or were there other people who were dressed how we typically do here?
I felt like Indonesia, they definitely had like a larger Muslim community where it was, people really followed the rules more. So they were okay when I showed up, I was in shorts and a tank top. Nobody batted an eye, but there weren't many tourists around the area either. It wasn't as touristy for Westerners as it is for Bali in the area. But Malaysia definitely seemed more Westernized. They have a large melting pot of different cultures in the area that it was a little more acceptable to dress Western if that's what you felt comfortable doing. I noticed specifically when we were in Malaysia, we went to a natural watering hole, which I made a reel on of, have you been asked to leave a nature preserve? And everybody's like, well, yeah, you shouldn't be in it. That's not for swimming. And I'm like, no, no, you're missing the point. They didn't want me in a bathing suit. They wanted me in clothing. And I was like, that's what it's about.
That is super interesting. All right. So traveling with littles definitely hits different than travel life with bigger kids. So tell us your secrets, and is it snacks?
Oh, definitely snacks. As you can tell, my husband in charge of the snacks. Even though he fails sometimes, there's always snacks. But other than that, I feel like we have to have an open depth of like how much the kids can handle in a day. We try to wake up each day, especially with slower travel, and say, what's our capacity look like today for the kids? Are they in a good mood? Are they in a bad mood? Are they tired?
Mhm.
Did we do a lot yesterday? Do we need to take it slower today? Do they just need to go down to the pool? It depends so much, I feel like, on their capacity and their nervous system of what they feel like they can handle. So that way I don't push it too far. 'Cause if I do, it will absolutely come back in my face and hit me hard.
And I think that's a really good reminder, and something that I'm not great at is taking the lead of my kids and meeting them where they're at. It's like a lot of times, we do work, so we'll schedule our days, but then sometimes I just need to be able to be flexible if there is some type of plan we have and I can tell that they're just not vibing that day, because it doesn't end up fun, right? If they're having meltdowns and if they're tired. So rather than just pushing through, I feel like that's a good reminder to myself to just be more flexible, to not force them when it's not the right day for it. So when you let your family and friends know that you were going to be going on these different adventures, how did they take it?
My family was very shocked by it because they had a lot of questions, right? And they're in their 60s and 70s. And just, so what are you going to do? What's this going to look like? Are these places safe? Which I understand there's a whole mix of information out there about places around the world and what the safety looks like and what are you going to do with your life? And I said, well, let's just be open to the fact of we can always go back and do something else if it doesn't work out. And we always check and make sure the place is safe before we go somewhere with our kids. So it took a whole lot of reassurance on a regular basis. And even while we were gone of FaceTiming and saying, look, we're okay. The kids are okay. Everyone's eating.
Okay. Yeah. And you did say, so you mentioned you worked in healthcare, correct? Were you a doctor, a nurse, or something similar?
I was a physician assistant for 10 years.
Okay. And what kind of work was your husband in? Is he also in the healthcare field?
He is also a physician assistant. We both met in school together and ended up working in about the same field when we got out.
Okay. So those are very, like high achieving careers too. So I'm sure that came as shocking. Like you worked very hard to get that degree. You worked very hard to get those jobs that you had. So I'm sure that was also like, wait, what? You just went to school for how many years and then you're going to do that? So I just think it's incredible though that you were like, okay, that was my dream then. And it's okay that that was something I did for 10 years. And now I have another dream that I'm going to prioritize and be okay with kind of leaving that in the past, because I know that that can be hard. That was really hard for me to leave my former career and then totally transition. But then I just had to keep reminding myself that it's okay for something to be part of my life and not my whole life, and that I can focus on other priorities. But yeah, I'm sure that that was very surprising to your family and friends when you both decided that you were not going to work in the field anymore. That has to be handy, though, skills, right? To be, you mentioned that you went to the ER, so that anytime, kids are sick or there's injuries or something, you have to feel good knowing that you have some skills to help them if there were ever medical emergencies, right?
Yeah, I had gotten a sinus infection and I know exactly what medicine I need and I can get it over the counter. We already knew with our daughter's injury what care we were to expect. That way we could redirect it if we felt like something was going off the rails at all. So that was helpful. And luckily, like with our licensing, we're good for another 10 years in case we change our mind. But
That helps. That helps too. And what you said too was so relatable. You're like, we can always go back. And that's what I always said when we were trying to decide it. I was like, we can always get another job that drains our soul, right? Like, that's not a problem. Like, we can always go back to that if we need to. We might as well just try it out. And even if we fail, like, is it really failing if you tried? No, it's just that you tried and it worked out differently than you might have expected. And that's all good too. Anna, before we play a game of Would You Rather, can you tell us a little bit about your amazing free resource, the Family Travel Blueprint?
yes, so that's the one that I made where I was just talking to you about like how to teach families how to travel. And it really goes through like it starts with the mindset of the parent, right? We talk about kids' capacity in a day of how to handle it, what to look at, how to look differently at your child, how to like look at your mindset of how to travel, and then how to find the right neighborhood and the right destination to land in, what your daily burn rate looks like if you
Mm-hmm.
want to travel in the sense of going based off what your kids can handle and spending less while still having the time that you want, whatever that looks like for you.
Okay, that's so great. And people can find that on your Instagram link, correct?
Yes, they can.
Okay, awesome. All right. So, would you rather your toddler screams for 3 hours straight on a flight, or you lose your luggage?
My toddler scream.
And has it happened? Any interesting flights?
My toddler, she definitely has put in the screams. The biggest thing was, she just like, give me what I want. And it's one of those times where you're like, no. And you're like, you know what? Fine. I am done. You can have it. So
Yeah. You're like, the plane is not the time where I'm going to be able to pick this battle here. Whatever you need. What's the longest flight that they have been on with you?
16 hours.
Ooh. Oh my gosh.
I prefer long flights.
Do you?
I do. They are so much easier. You get the kid on there, you settle down, you set up their seat, their screen in the seat, food, snacks, their little bed. It's wonderful.
Okay, good to know. So speaking of the food, would you rather give up screen time for a week while traveling or on a flight, or eat only airplane food for a week?
Give up the screen time.
You're going to give up the screen time. You're going
Yes.
to, how often do you use screens, would you say? Are you like a minimalist screen family, or do you just use them when you have to on like a travel emergency, or what does it look like in your lifestyle?
I think for us, mainly with traveling, so definitely when we're on the airplane, which
Mhm.
wouldn't be that much fun with your Would You Rather game. I think I'd rather have that over the airplane food consistently, considering how amazing food is in all these countries.
Right, for sure. Okay. I was just curious if you're like, screens are my lifeline, if you need those while you're traveling, because yeah, I couldn't imagine taking my kids on a 16-hour flight if they were not on a screen. They would struggle massively. Okay. So, Anna, this was so much fun. I loved getting to know you more and hearing more about your journey. You're living proof that family travel can be chaotic, hilarious, and totally worth it and totally doable. So, everyone listening, if you're not following Wanderlust.Haaks, and check out the link in the show notes for the spelling of that, because it's Wanderlust.Haaks. And if you're listening, thank you so much. And don't forget to subscribe. It would mean the world to me. Safe travels. Don't unbuckle just yet. I have a very interesting song that I guarantee you've never heard before, and I just had to share with y'all to wrap up this episode. And thank you again to eTrailer for supporting the show and helping to make my podcasting dreams a reality. Remember to head to eTrailer.com or check the link in the notes to stay ready for whatever winter throws at you.
Da 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 da. Yeah. Backpacks bigger than the kiddos, stamps stacking up on the page. Traded white coats for one-way tickets. Turn a new chapter, turn the front page. Slow days, fast planes, different playground every week. Kids counting clouds from the window seat. Sometimes it's magic, sometimes it's a mess, but they film every moment, so the next fam's less stress. At Wanderlust, hacks on the move, whole crew finding their own groove. From clinic halls to ocean views, they pack the kids and change the rules. At Wanderlust, hack hit save, family maps that the next crew craves. If you're scared to jump, just watch what they do and move and move. Yeah. Raw egg cracked on a crowded bus, Mexico laughing right back at us. Driver's side eye, kids in stitches. Did dad just? Yeah. Added to the pictures. Then a teen with a tuk-tuk grin. Hop in, I'll spin you around this town. Tiny driver, giant stories, little hearts, world size now. They get lost on purpose, so we don't have to. Every wrong turn becomes a how-to. At Wanderlust, hacks on the move, whole crew finding their own groove. From clinic halls to ocean views, they pack the kids and change the rules. At Wanderlust, hack hit save, family maps that the next crew craves. If you're scared to jump, just watch what they do and move. Security line, half asleep. Beep, 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 beep. Lights flash deep, ma'am. Step aside, what's buzzing in the bag? Just a toothbrush with a lot of swag. Kids asking, are we in trouble? Mom's laughing through the double check. Dad's filming from the side like, this is going in the guide. What the heck? At Wanderlust, hacks on